What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our ACC football channel.
But who's going to challenge this Clemson team? This Clemson team that's built upon tradition and family and developing their players and forming these great team bonds and team chemistry greater than probably any other team in the country. Who's going to challenge that in the future? I've got a few teams written down here. I've got 6 to be exact. 4 of them are... I've got 6 teams that are not a part of the ACC already. Spoiler alert. 3 teams that are a part of the ACC, all 3 of them have either first-year head coaches or second-year head coaches. So these are teams I'm looking to make a huge turnaround in their programs. One of them specifically, I'll get into it in a moment, but starting off with Willie Taggart over at Florida State University. I'm really excited to see what he can do in his second year as the head coach. His first year was very underwhelming as far as recruiting and whatever they had going on this year, locker room issues. This team, you could tell by the way they played that they had some cancers amongst them. And I'm excited to see how Willie Taggart's going to handle that in his second year as the head coach. And I'm excited to see how well he can make this team turn around and play in the 2019 season. Next up is Manny Diaz in Miami. Miami fans are very high on this guy. I hear a lot of great things coming out of Miami about the energy he's bringing. The energy just in the QB battle is, it's all over the media. That's, in my opinion, that's the QB battle to watch this year, because that one is really going to decide a lot in the ACC specifically. And if Miami can really go on a run and maybe even upset Clemson and take the ACC championship, that QB battle may end up deciding that 4th playoff spot. That's a lot to throw around, especially for a first-year head coach, but I'm excited to see it. And then the third ACC team I have is one you don't really see on the radar. And these teams, I don't see any of these teams competing with Clemson in the near future. It may be a few years, especially for this team and the other teams I have listed. Not so much Miami and Florida State. They have the most potential as far as show up and compete. But this third team is Georgia Tech. If you know anything about Jeff Collins, he's a great recruiter and a great head coach. I'm very excited to see what he's doing at Georgia Tech. As we all know, it is very sad to see Paul Johnson go into retirement after such a great long career. But I'm excited about Jeff Collins. The energy and the enthusiasm he is bringing to this program, I believe they will make a complete 180. Maybe not this season. This season will probably be a pretty disappointing one, especially considering the energy he's brought with him. But in the next few years, this Georgia Tech team can very well develop into an ACC contender and even a playoff contender if they can muster up some victories over their in-state rival of Georgia. He's done a great job of recruiting local talent and turning it into what may be a superstar offense and defense. Hopefully, I'll be getting into that in another video in the future. However, I want to get into the remaining 6 teams I have that may compete with Clemson for the ACC title in nowhere near the near future. I'm talking down the road. But UCF, Memphis, Houston, and Cincinnati, all coming in from the American Athletic Conference. I'm not saying any of them are coming in next year or the year after. It could be 2023, I believe, is the soonest I've heard thrown around. But UCF has so much excitement around their program. They were actually declared co-national champions for their 2017 season. That program has so much potential, and when it comes time, there are going to be a few Power 5 conferences, I believe, fighting for UCF. The Big 12 and the ACC specifically, both will be lucky to have them, but I think they could show up in the ACC and compete. And the same thing with Memphis, Cincinnati, and Houston. Those teams all have rich history, and I think they have very bright futures as well with the guys they've brought in and the chemistry and the tradition they've built just in recent years. I think these three teams, UCF included, these 4 American Conference teams, all have a possibility to move into Power 5 status and compete wherever they go, in particular the ACC. And the next 2 teams I have are a little bit of curveballs. They're already Power 5 teams, but I'd really like to see them possibly moved into the ACC, and that's West Virginia and Notre Dame. West Virginia had a little bit of a disappointing season this year. By no means was it disappointing as far as they didn't make a bowl game or anything like that. They just lost a couple of close games that I'm sure they would have loved to win. This team actually, I believe, could have gone towards a national championship and really held their own in a playoff. I think that team was that good. It's just sometimes teams are off on the wrong days, and I think that was the problem for West Virginia this year. They had Will Grier, they had it all, and sometimes things just happen in football. That's what's so great about it. But Notre Dame, I really want to see join a conference. Whether it's the Big Ten or the ACC, those are the main 2 I could see it going towards. But I'd love to see Notre Dame join a conference. They managed to somehow build a resume just in the fact that they were pretty dominant this past year. And even in a few close games, they were so dominant down the stretch, beating the big teams by enough that they managed to scrape by on their resume and get into the playoff. And a lot of people argued that they shouldn't have been, even with their 12-0 record. Many people said there's no conference championship. Look at the teams like Georgia or some of these other teams that held their own against these top teams. Notre Dame didn't have to play that 13th game. They're getting by with a free ticket to the playoff. So I'd really love to see them join a conference. I think them and West Virginia. I think if one were to join a conference, the other would probably join the same. If they were to either move both of them into the Big Ten or both of it into the ACC, I could see either scenario playing out. Either way, those are the teams I see possibly challenging Clemson in the future as a dominant ACC team. But as for the near future, it looks like it's going to be all Clemson. That's just my thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching this video. If you are an ACC football fan, please subscribe to the channel. Leave us your thoughts down in the comments below. And for the latest in ACC football, keep it right here.